Hi, welcome to End Credit Reviews, and John Carter is criminally underrated. John Carter is a film adaptation of some of the books in the John Carter series from 2012. It was directed by Andrew Stanton, who has directed movies like Finding Nemo and WALL-E. It stars Taylor Kitsch, Lynn Collins, William Dafoe, Bryan Cranston, and Mark Strong. This movie was in development hell for almost 100 years. In the 1930s, it was going to be made into an animated movie, then again in the 1950s with live action with stop motion, and then again in the 80s with animatronics and puppeteering. It finally got made 100 years after the first book came out, but the movie was a big financial disappointment. What did audiences go see instead? The Lorax. That complete sellout and dumbing down of a Dr. Seuss book of a movie. This would be the dumbest choice that audiences made until they decided to go see Grown Ups 2 instead of Pacific Rim. So before I begin, I want to make a few statements. First is that this is an analyzation, not a review, so there will be spoilers throughout. Second is that just because I think this movie is underrated doesn't mean I won't point out some things that I might have not liked about it. And finally, this is a copyright disclaimer. This means that I do not own any of the video, audio, or music footage from this movie. So without further ado, here is why I think John Carter is criminally underrated. The movie opens up to narration of civilizations on Mars, or as the natives call it, Barsoom, are competing for resources of all kinds. While a fight rages on, it is interrupted by a powerful group called the Therns. Their leader is Matai Sheng, played by Mark Strong, offers power to a general named Sab Than, played by Dominic West. We cut further in time, and to Earth where a young man, played by Daryl Stabra, reads the journal of a relative that recently passed away. We cut back in time to the West where a wanted man named John Carter, played by Taylor Kitsch, is captured by the military. There a man named Powell, played by Bryan Cranston, tells John that he wants his services to deal with the problems that they have with the Apache, but John refuses.
Whatever it is you suppose I owe you, our country, or any other beloved cause, I have already paid. I have paid in full.
But it's hilarious how many times he tries to escape. He eventually gets away, but Powell and his men catch up to him, surprisingly fast even though John had a really good start. He heads up to a cave with Powell, and comes into contact with a member of the Therns. After an altercation, John then ends up on Mars, but something else isn't right as he can tell. Not only is the scene funny, but it's sort of accurate to how different planets are different in their gravity. Even though this book was made decades before mankind even went to space. He later encounters tall four-armed aliens known as the Tharks. Their leader is Tars, played by William Dafoe, and this misunderstanding is hilarious.
Captain John Carter, Virginia.
Virginia!
My name is John Carter, Virginia.
He is taken to their village, and it's interesting how we see their culture, and John eventually figures out their language by just through willpower?
You will hear it, if you choose.
Odd, but he finally figures out that he also has increased strength.
You killed him with one blow.
This is also similar to how Superman's strength was originally explained in the comics, that if the gravity was lighter, then one would be stronger in theory. The next day, Jon and the Tharks see other Barsunians fighting, and Jon decides to intervene. He saves, well, sort of, a princess named Deja, played by Lynn Collins. A minor problem I have with this movie is that the fight scenes are sort of riddled with way too many close-ups, and it's sort of reminiscent of the fight scenes from Batman Begins. After they defeat the bad guys, Deja tells Jon where they are at. They later figure out more Barsunian history, and even have a funny form of miscommunication.
Go on. Shake it. As a sign of trust. Good enough.
They investigate a mysterious area, but are attacked by barbarians called the Warhorn, who are being controlled by Matai. They run from them, but Jon decides to stand and fight.
I was too late once. I won't be again.
To be honest, I was sort of slouching in my chair during this part in the movie. But when this fight scene happened, I was blown away. I am not exaggerating. This scene has perfect action, special effects, editing, and music that it's one of the best moments I have seen in any movie. This to me is cinematic perfection. Carter is then saved by Deja's people, and Sab offers peace in exchange for her hand in marriage. Well, she should have killed him. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time he would be killed by a member of royalty. Jon sees Deja to change her mind, but he is captured by Matai and tells Jon his plan.
History will follow the course we have set, Earthman.
We don't cause the destruction of a world, Captain Carter. We simply manage it. Feed off it, if you like.
Jon escapes and heads back to the Tharks for help, but it turns out that Tars has been overthrown and Jon has been sentenced to be killed along with him. They fight these creatures known as white apes in this arena. This scene is sort of similar to the arena scene from Attack of the Clones. In fact, I could make a full-length commentary on just the similarities between this movie and Star Wars. Jon wins and challenges the new leader, and it's a bit anticlimactic. The Tharks join him and try to stop the wedding. This scene is very similar to old-style Hollywood movies like Robin Hood, to where a large-scale fight scene happens in the climax, and people make cliched quips and nods. Sab gets killed, but Matai gets away. Jon then decides that he wants to stay on the planet, but in a twist that I did not see coming, one man turns out to be Matai and sends Jon back to Earth. This concludes when the reader reads that Jon spent time trying to get back to Barsoom, and his secret is in the crypt. An assassin almost gets him, but it turns out that Jon was waiting, and he faked his own death. He did it because the assassin had a device required to go back to Barsoom, and he goes back.
Barsoom.
It's understandable why this movie bombed at the box office because it was based off something that many people didn't know about. Some dumb critics called it a ripoff of Star Wars, but this predates Star Wars by over 50 years. That's like saying Tarzan ripped off George of the Jungle or James Bond ripped off Austin Powers. I find it hypocritical that people had a problem with blood in a Disney movie because other Disney movies in the past showed blood and no one complained about that. It has really good special effects, a solid mythos, and an amazing moment that I love. So that is why I think John Carter is criminally underrated. So anyway, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe.